So we're back here again at Casa Belvedere in Staten Island. We filmed here before. We filmed our Christmas specials here. We've taped here for different things. This is an outstanding Italian cultural center, and we're trying to do something new with Postcards. One of our IFL alums now lives in Italy, the town where her father came from, and her husband run a farm where they grow heritage beans and they grow peperoni cruschi. And I thought this was fantastic. So they spend half the year in here, half the year in Basilicata, and I wanted to show you their products and explain to them why they're important. And these are really ancient Italian culinary pieces of excellence, right? That your ancestors would have known. And sometimes over the years, people have lost the knowledge of how to make them. So Francesca Varuolo today is going to show you peperoni cruschi, which is the most probably typical product of Basilicata, and the beans, a type of bean, heritage beans, the sort of beans that came over with Columbus, when beans first came to Italy, the Columbian exchange. And these beans have a flavor and a texture that's really unknown today. And Francesca and her husband grow both of them, and I want you to see them and understand how to make them and enjoy them yourself.
Okay, my name is Francesca. This is my husband, Italo. My dad was born in a small village in southern Italy called Sarconi with maybe 1,000 people, that's including the sheep. And so I grew up going there every summer and met him when I was 12. And then we fell in love, got married, and I ended up moving there. So we now live there half of the year, and we spend half of the year here.
You got a nice little racket going.
Yeah, not bad.
Right?
Not a bad gig.
Not a bad gig. You know? Summers in Italy, no. Christmas in America. You know, congratulations. You worked it out well.
No, definitely not bad. So he owns his own farm in Italy. Our town, Sarconi, is known for their beans. They have over 20 different types of beans that they produce. You have to salt everything, because I literally cook with no salt. None. I grew up in a house.
Yeah, me too.
My mom cooked with very little salt. And then when I moved to Italy and started cooking for my husband, I decided I was going to cook with no salt. So that's how I cook. Now I'm a terrible judge of how much salt to put in things.
I am in the exact same way, because I grew up with my grandmother. I was with my grandmother my entire life. And my grandmother had high blood pressure. So back in the 80s and 90s, like no salt, no salt.
That's
so I have I have a low salt tolerance compared to Europeans.
Okay, so
for that reason,
we're in the same boat then.
Same boat.
But everyone in our town does it that way. His mom, my mom. So honestly, that's how I learned to cook. Is helping my mom in the kitchen or watching my mother-in-law cook. Not through recipes. In fact, I rarely follow recipes, but just observing and watching and then doing it myself. I have a hungry husband to cook for. So that's one of the things is when I moved to Italy, he's used to eating pasta every day. So I had to learn how to cook like 20, 30 different types of pasta to not make the same pasta every day. This says, I believe it said 9 minutes. We're gonna throw it in for 7. I would say 2-3 minutes before. We'll take it out and we'll let it finish cooking in the bean mixture. Metti 7 minuti. To speed things up for today, we're gonna throw this into our pot. But if you're making it on the spot, what you wanna do is, aside from your garlic, your parsley, and your celery, beforehand, you wanna boil some beans in a lot of water, and they kind of want to cook slow. So these here cooked a good 2.5 hours on low heat, and then towards the end you can throw in a little salt. Okay, so now that these have cooked down a little bit, we're going to throw in our beans that have been cooking for 2 hours, and we'll put them all in there. And then we never waste, so we're going to fill this container up with some water, get it nice and clean, and then we'll throw it in there. You don't want to drain it completely. If you have one of these or a slotted spoon, you kind of just want to throw it in, because we want some of that water to, constantly stir. You don't want the pasta to stick to the bottom. That's the other thing. If you're cooking the pasta directly in with your beans and not in a separate pot, make sure you're constantly stirring and make sure it's not too high, because then the bottom of your pan will burn and the pasta will burn. And this looks about done. And then in true Italian fashion, un filo d'olio.
Do you usually put cheese on it?
Just a little. We don't, but you can.
So it's a subcone. You're not a cheese.
We don't put cheese on seafood. We don't put cheese on our pasta e fagioli.
But you also put the cheese was already put in.
But yes, we did put the rind in.
So you're gonna go ahead.
I got it.
Italo Vitale. Let's see how good I am. Just say when. Saluda nostra.
Shall we all
Saluda
do that?
Go ahead. You want to give a
Salute.
toast? Salute.
Salute.
Salute. Salute. Salute. You know how you define success? Look at this. Look at this. And there's a fight over who's going to clean out the bottom of the pot. This was outstanding. It was excellent. You didn't have smell-o-vision, right? Ralph Cramden talked about this on The Honeymooners. If you could have smelled it, it was off the charts, but it tasted even more delicious. But who just has macaroni? Now we're going to make a baccala with the peperoni cruschi.
Andiamo. All right, we're going to go ahead and throw our pasta in. Usually seafood, fettuccine, spaghetti.
People don't understand that about Italy.
No, I'm just kidding.
I was just But you know what? Hold on.
I'm just
Stop.
kidding.
No.
I was just kidding.
Yeah, but you know why we do that? See, I hate people in Italy, they start screaming about, because when spaghetti was sold in the United States originally, like in Naples, it was very long. It was like a yard
Yes.
long. So you broke it in half to get that size.
But Italians do it. They just, when they're making like pastina.
No, but hold on. I gotta go back to history with this. You're talking about breaking up for soup size.
Yes.
I'm talking about, see
Oh,
what you
just
have
to
there?
fit in the pan,
it was double or triple
pot.
that. So when you bought macaroni back in 1910, it was really long. Spaghetti was like long like this. So to get it that size that you get in the box today, you had to break it. That's where that comes from. So this is the serious moment, correct?
This is the serious moment.
Either you get this right or you don't.
We don't want them to get too dark, because then they just taste gross. So just a little bit. And they'll get crispy as they cool down too. What you're really looking for is color. So as soon as they're like that bright red color, you don't want them too dark. These can already start coming out.
Will you be honest with our listeners in podcast land?
Yeah.
Have you ever overcooked them?
I've overcooked a lot of stuff learning how to cook for my husband, not gonna lie. We'll throw those right on there. About halfway done and it's starting to bubble like that, we're gonna throw in a little wine and let it finish off. That way the alcohol burns off. White wine is best, dry if possible. Right, so when your pasta's done, again, we're not gonna drain this, just we're gonna throw them in. All right, so now we just all in there.
We're ready for round two.
Buon appetito.
Because one macaroni is not enough. If you knew, these are better than potato chips. These are better. Even our cameraman, Nikki, wiped out half a plate inside
Here,
because they were that good.
Let them hear the crunch.
Look at this. See this? Feel, listen. Can you hear that crunch?
They're pretty good.
To my new theme song, How to Get Fatter at 50. You may eat good tonight, but I can assure you, you're not going to eat better than me.